Hello, good morning, and happy Tea Time Tuesday. Thank you for joining me, everyone. As always, let me see who's with me. Good morning, Francesca. Good morning, Dr. Roxanne. Great to see you, ladies. So glad to have you join me for another tea time. And for all those who are watching, thank you. We have our tea. Let me know, as always, what you're drinking, your beverage of choice. I am going to take my sip before I get started of my favorite almond matcha. Let's get into it. We are talking about choosing your identity. Let's see what I'm up to today. All right, choosing your identity. So let me warn some of you. I don't know. I might step on some toes. I hit some sensitive spots, but this is a continuation of what we talked about last week. So, and I've really led to go in this direction because I know and I see on a regular basis that how we shape our identity can really impact how we move forward in our purpose and our desired ways to live our life and building our legacy. So I know that I just have to address this with everyone. So last week we uncovered 3 factors that inhibit change in our environment and our finances, right? We talked about fears. We talked about the fear of the unknown, right? Who remembers that? We talked about the fear of failure. And I know some of you remember that as well. And we talked about the fear of what? Lost identity. So those are the 3 factors that we talked about last week that can really stifle our ability to grow, to just allow ourselves to change so that we can grow into who we need to be. So it's fear of unknown, fear of failure, and fear of lost identity. So if you missed that episode, I encourage you to go back and watch it. It was really good. Some really good nuggets there that not just I shared, but everyone in the chat. We have an amazing group here. So everyone was sharing some good stuff. And so go back and watch that. So today, I want to go in a bit deeper into that 3rd factor, that fear of lost identity, and really just kind of take a deeper look at what identity is. Just get a better understanding of our identity, because I don't think it's something that we discuss enough. And considering how things are around us, I'll go a little deeper into that. I can see why we don't talk about this. So what I want to do, good morning, Sanaya. Great to see you. Rhonda, love it. Good morning. So let's talk about that. And first, let me start with defining identity. Identity is the qualities, beliefs, personality traits, and appearances and or expressions that characterize a person or a group. So identity is the qualities, beliefs, personality traits, appearances, and or that characterize a person or a group. All right. So that's in general what identity is. Now, starting from our childhood and throughout our lives, we attach our identity to a number of social constructs, qualities, experiences, expectations, and it goes on and on. But we attach ourselves to some key factors and that create our identity. So, for example, I'll just share a few of the some of the things that I attach my identity to very often. Black, being Black, a Black woman, being from the Caribbean, a Christian, a mother, a wife, a daughter, a sister. The list goes on and on and on, right? So these are all the labels that I associate with my identity. So I'm not talking, whether it's good or bad, right or wrong. That's not what I'm talking about right here. I'm simply bringing awareness to something, like I said, that we don't often talk about, that's so often overlooked. So most of us never consciously examine our identity and all that we attach to it. So I'm going to ask you to drop in the chat. Let's do this together. I want you to drop in the chat. Good morning, Stacy. Good to see you. Take a moment and work with me here. List anything that comes to mind. What identities do you connect with? I just listed off some of mine. Tell me some of the factors that you attach your identity to. Let's look at this together. Good morning, Michelle. Great to see you. So glad you could join us. So I'm looking at the chat. Let me know. Let's list them off. All the factors that you attach your identity to, whether it's a race, religion, class, gender, any of it. I want to see. Let me know you're there. Let me see what you just type in the. Go ahead, type in the chats, because I want us to let's really start thinking about this. You can just list one at a time. You don't have to compile a whole list. Just list it as it comes to your mind. Just type it in as it comes to your mind. And as you do that, I'm looking to see for those who are brave enough to start typing in. Come on, we're doing this together. Remember, I'm not just here to hear myself talk. I want to have a conversation with you guys. So as I wait to see the factors that you're identifying with. Okay, Rhonda, thank you. Mom, sister, grandma, daughter, niece, cousin. Yes. Okay. Oh, yeah, we're typing away. That's what I was waiting for. Okay. Love it. Okay. Christian, entrepreneur, domestic violence advocate. Wonderful. Yes. Let's see your list there. Keep going with it. Keep bringing it. Believer, Black, female, daughter, aunt, teacher. Yes. I'm loving this. Morning, Nancy. Good to see you. Yes, woman of God, mom, businesswoman, encourager, trailblazer. Thank you for sharing. This is what I'm talking about. Let's look at all of these things that we connect with in our lives. Cousin, friend, yes. These are all that we connect with. And here's why I'm asking you to really point these out, to speak on this, to take a close look at it. This is why this is so important. Because every day, someone or something is coming for your identity. It's coming for it. Right there, son, brother, child of God, CEO, friend, artist, legacy builder. All right, Francesca, see, we go in there. I love it. She said legacy builder. Okay. Yes, I love the Black woman being from New Orleans. Yes, all these things. Hoya, I love it. Christian, all of these things. Every day, there is something or someone that is coming for your identity. Your identity will always be questioned, attacked, defined, trying to get changed. And if you don't believe me, just pay attention to the news, the ads. It doesn't matter what platform, social media, television. Always something that is going to try to define your identity for you. Don't even get me started on drug commercials when they talk about my ADHD or my diabetes. I want you to start paying attention to the languaging that is in most ads, commercials, social media content, and how it's directed to shape your identity. All right. It's directing you to believe who you are, what and who you're with, and what and who you're against. Okay? Those are key factors: who you are, who and what you're with, and who and what you're against. That's what's coming for your identity. So I'm glad you're still dropping all these factors. And as you're doing that, pay attention to these words that are coming out of my mouth, because here's the problem. Many of these constructs can create mental parameters. Many of some of the things that we've listed can create restrictions that can cause us to, will restrain us from embracing our purpose and full capabilities. That's what is there. Sometimes some of the things that we identify ourselves with really hold us back and really cause us to hold back from our full potential and our full capabilities. And I can't stress that enough. This is why we have to look at each of these. If you're on my mailing list and you received the email last night about today's tea time, I talked about and I shared a story about dyslexia. Um, in the newsletter, I said I talked about my struggle with spelling, processing and remembering words. It's something I've dealt with my whole life. And it's eventually, as I got older, I started doing research and I looked into these symptoms, these things that were challenging for me, and it led me to dyslexia. It led me to understand that, you know what, I may be dealing with some form of dyslexia, which is simply this a disorder that there's a certain part of the brain that it's just a challenge to process language. And the more I looked into it, the more it confirmed that it really was the source of my struggles. But here's the thing. I never tested for it. It's been my intention not to test for it, especially as an adult. Now, as a child, I'm not saying you should. I mean, be clear on that. If it was something that came to my mind, maybe came to my parents' mind when I was younger, I definitely would say, yeah, test for it. And that way teachers and perhaps I would learn some different ways of learning. I'll put it that way. I would have developed some different learning styles that would have helped me coming along. But I honestly didn't feel like it held me back. Here's the thing. I didn't test for it because I knew how easy it would be for me to use the diagnosis as an excuse. I knew myself enough, especially as an adult at this stage. I don't want that label. I understand that I probably deal with dyslexia, and that gives me grace. I'm not too hard on myself when I make sure I have the editor around. And things I don't edit, if I make a mistake, I'm all right with that. I don't have to be perfect. However, a professional diagnosis of dyslexia would tell me that, oh, you have a reason that you can now explain to the world. You can join the tribe, all the other people that struggle with dyslexia. You can attach your identity to this thing. That's my personal experience. So what are you allowing to be your reason as to why you just can't in any area of your life? What are you attaching your identity to? Can there be something in your day-to-day practice that's really affecting your ability to build legacy, to build wealth, to live with purpose, to live out the life you desire? What is it? I am really challenging you to look at the different things that happen in your life and that you may have attached your identity to, and you've allowed it to be an excuse to hold you back. Or share the things that, you know what, you said, no, I am not going to attach my identity to this thing. Perhaps you figure that out and you realize, you know what, I'm not attaching my identity to this. And it will not be the excuse to hold me back from building the legacy that I desire. And it could be the simplest things. I talked about dyslexia. That's one thing. Obviously, no one wants to attach their identity to a disorder or to a disease. But I'll give you another example from my list of, characteristics and list of identity factors, right? And before I do that, let me check I love it. Thank you. I am enough. I know I'm no longer attached to fear. Yes, I love it. I love it. Love that. Let us not assume others' labels. Yes. Millionaire in training, lifelong learner. I love you guys continuing to list these aspects of yourself. I love it. No attachments. Thanks, Ron. All right. So yeah. Ron said didn't test for it, and she still graduated top of her college class. Oh, thank you, honey. I appreciate that. So let's look at it. Loving the identity challenge. Good to see you, Nat. Great to see you. I'm so glad you're loving this challenge. Yes, I'm going to continue to challenge you. So let me give you an example of one of mine that it's an identity that most of us women embrace, women who have children, and that is mother. I love being a mother to two amazing humans. And if you've known me long enough, you know I love being a mother. I love my children. I love all that's involved with motherhood. And I will always be their mother. Now that they're adults, I will still always be their mother. But I did not rest my identity with that label. Throughout their childhood, as they were growing up, I was well aware of who I was and that motherhood was a role. As a matter of fact, I actually reject a lot of the noise that and the messaging that comes around motherhood. You see, I want you to think about all of the noise that comes with the identity, with the identifying words that you listed. Just like I listed the words, this is what I'm challenging you. Think about the noise that comes with each of those qualities that you listed. Motherhood, there was some noise that comes with that I rejected. I released a lot of it. Motherhood was an assignment for me. It's not who I am. A lot of the noise does not work for my assignment. The noise comes through, like I said, news, social media, friends, family. They're just expectations that come with that does not work for my assignment. So I released personal attachment to being a mother in order to grow in the assignment. And now that they are young adults, my role has transitioned to more of a mentor for them. And as a mentor, I can be more of that legacy builder that my adults actually need me to be. See, there's a difference. Do you get that? I'm not saying I'm not a mother. My love for being their mother and their parent doesn't change. But my identity is not tied to motherhood. My identity was my identity before my kids came along, and now that they're adults. If you don't, you have to release personal attachment to all of these, to the thing that gives you this way of thinking you are. You have to release personal attachment. And that is the way that you can give yourself more power to build the life and legacy you truly desire. You truly desire. If you don't, others will direct your path. Others will tell you what your identity is. Others will be in control. Hear where I'm coming from. Let me pause. I like to pause and let me see what you guys are saying here. Yes, rejecting and refusing is necessary to guard your gates. I love it. Rhonda, I received a diagnosis in the spring of 2023 and chose not to attach my identity to it. Did all these things to alleviate it. Final week this week. Oh, Rhonda, yes. And I'm so familiar with what you've been going through. And I'm so grateful that you detached your identity to that thing. Being a widower, Sheila, I had to move forward from being my husband's wife and my son's mother only. Ah, thank you for sharing that. Beautiful, beautiful. Let me see. I love it. Common that women lose themselves once becoming a mother. Motherhood being a role needs to be reinforced in order for women to grow in their own individual identity assignments. Preach. Love it. Thank you. Thank you. That's a disclaimer. Thanks for sharing your story. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Nat. Thank you, Nancy. All right. So I'm going to close out with some things to look at with 3 key points. And, I originally was just wanted you guys to just think, I wasn't going to give any pointers or anything like that. I wanted just to bring this identity challenge for you. But I do want to just add three things as you're exploring your identity and allowing yourselves to question the noise, the requirements, the social expectations that come with each of your identity and how each of these factors and how it shapes your identity. Let me just give you three things to think about. One, get clear on who you are. And this can be really challenging. Get clear on who you are, especially when who you are for you has always been this list of things. So I want to challenge you, and this is something I learned. I didn't create this. I got this from a mentor, and I just took his words because it stood out to me. It was who I was. And now when people actually, who is Marcella? I can give one clear answer. I am God's highest form of creation. That is who I am. Point blank, period. Everything else is just icing on the cake. And why that resonates with me is because God's created a lot of things, everything from the beautiful mountains to the crickets that jump all over the place. And of all his creations, we as humans are his highest. And with that comes a role. And when I see myself and I identify myself truly to my core of who I am as God's highest form of creation, it allows me to understand what God needs me to understand and to operate accordingly. Because if I am his highest form of creation, then there's some expectations that come with that. No excuses. No excuses can be made if I'm his highest form. So I encourage you to get clear on who you are. Come up with that simple statement that's not tied to any particular social constructs, but simply speaks to the essence of who you believe you are. All right. So the second one is to identify factors that you attached to your identity. And that's what we did today. So I'm going to encourage you to explore some more, maybe go down that rabbit hole and see, wait a minute, are there some unconscious factors that I've attached to my identity that I haven't even thought of for some time? Whether, like I said, there's some things that you favorably attached yourself to, and then maybe there's some unfavorable. As I talked about, I did not attach myself to a disorder. Rhonda talked about she was not attaching herself to a disease. There are these subtle things that, like I said, it's subliminally messaging that are coming into us and that we may not even know how we're attaching ourselves to these things. So really take a look at it. Words matter. How we define these things matter. So look at these factors clearly. What are the factors that you attach your identity to? And then the third is to determine for yourself how and when those factors get to play their role in your life. So I'm not saying, like I said, for some of these factors you've listed off, wonderful things. And even my example as a mother, I get to determine when motherhood, when I want to be used as a mother, when I want to identify my role as a Black woman, when I want to identify my role as a entrepreneur, CEO, how and all of these work and how it all contributes to what my goal is as a legacy builder in this group. And I haven't been focusing a lot on legacy builder, the identity of legacy builder. I really want to touch on that next week, okay? I want to start here first. And next week, we'll go a little further into understanding your identity as a legacy builder and what that looks like. But I really want you to really understand that you have the power and you have the control to say, you know what? I will allow this to be a factor of my identity today or at this moment. And tomorrow or at this moment, it's going on a shelf because I don't need the noise to deter me or impact me as I'm working on this. Because That's just the fact. That's just the truth of it all. The reality is there is no, I'm calling it noise, just meaning there's baggage. There's a lot that comes with some of these factors, as I mentioned before. So that third factor is determine for yourself how and when those factors get to play their role. You are in control. You get to determine that, no one else. So those are the three factors. Get clear on who you are. Identify the factors that are attached to your identity and determine for yourself when and how they get to play their role in your life. All right. So I love this interaction here. Thank you so much. I love it, guys. You all are resonating with the highest form of creation. That is all of us. My stroke took me out to define. Oh yes, your stroke, yes, Dr. Roxanne. My stroke taught me to define me. My stroke taught me how to define my true identity. Wonderful. I just realized that, Stacy, you have everyone was directing my path, and now I'm learning to walk in my identity. I'm not my diagnosis. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Net, also defining role in a season versus versus own identity. Yes, I love it. You guys, y'all are great. Thank you so much for your participation as always, for joining me, for embracing this conversation that can be challenging. It really can when you're forced to face your identity and question certain things. But this will empower you to really move forward and truly live the life that you were created to live. So join me next to Tea Time Tuesday, where we really look at our legacy builder identity and what that looks like and how do we operate within that. All right. Thank you all. Happy Tea Time Tuesday. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time.